Like, why'd you pick a bus and not a camper?
Bus is cooler. So this is a 1993 Bluebird School Bus. It was made in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, but it spent most of its life in Fort Lupton, Colorado, where it hauled little kids to and from school. So I'm actually the third owner of this bus. I bought it off a guy in Colorado who had purchased it to rip the motor out of it and put it in one of his work trucks. Turns out I didn't need that, so for 3,500 bucks, this baby was mine. About halfway through the build, I knew I needed to get the paint job done, and I wanted it to look like an old school pickup. Air compressors and some spray guns, and 3 days in a 90-degree metal shed. And this is what it looks like. So it's got storage compartments on both sides, mostly just random tools and that kind of thing. Fun fact about the back door, there's a deadbolt on the inside, which helps me lock it. But if you don't have the deadbolt open, the bus won't start, which causes me to freak out and think I can't get the engine going. So this baby's got 6 tires, pretty stylish, rolling down the road. How big are they? About this big. So the plan with the bus was to travel and meet people on different trips, and I knew I needed a little bit more room. So I actually custom built the framework for this awning, and then Montana Canvas out of Montana gave me all the fabric, and then I had a guy custom sew everything together. So with the awning, it gives me an additional 200 square feet, so I've got just over 400 square feet of space when the whole thing is set up. And having a wood stove and a big awning to give everybody room to spread out makes a world of difference. Well, welcome to part 2 of the tour. We're gonna start in the back. So I've got a queen bed in the very back, and I got it from Tuft & Needle. It's one of those direct-to-consumer mattresses. And I built the frame up as high as I could so then I could store as much stuff underneath it as possible. Everything else I might need to store under that. I got a ton of space back here, basically like a garage in the back. In front of that, I have 2 sets of bunks. So I meet a lot of people on the hunts that I go on, and so I want to have ample room for people to sleep. Yeah, the top bunks don't get slept on a lot, but the bottom bunks do. And I use a Big Agnes self-inflating pad for the base. And then when there's only 1 or 2 other people sleeping in here, I use 8 inches of memory foam to make it a little more comfortable. And then these fold up, and then I've got a ton of storage in there just in case I need to organize anything else. In front of the bunks, we're gonna start on this side. This originally was going to be the bathroom area, and I bought a portable composting toilet for that. But turns out when you spend enough time in the woods, it's not really necessary. So it has become a storage closet, and that actually works pretty solid. In front of that, I have a space for the heater. I just use a Mr. Heater 20,000 BTU ventless heater. Don't worry, I do open the windows so I don't die of carbon monoxide poisoning. In front of that, I have a couch that I built, and I just bought all the cushions for it at Lowe's, and then that all opens up too for storage. Going to the other side, this was one of the last things I built. This is just a work desk, super simple. It ends up usually just being kind of a throw shelf for all of my camera gear so I can keep it sorted and charged. And then rather than using just a regular seat, I actually did a Yeti Tundra 75 with a cushion. That way I can sit on that and use it as my main source for a refrigerator. This is my kitchen counter. I built the counter out of wood from like a 100-year-old granary, which was pretty cool. Just built the cabinets up, and then I was gonna put a sink in here, but decided just to keep everything simple and the less plumbing the better. So I usually just have my stove set up here so I can make coffee or eggs in the morning. And then this is a brand new oven stove combo from Camp Chef, and this is actually probably my new favorite piece of the bus. And then I do have a coffee pot. If I'm plugged into shore power, I will use the coffee pot. Usually I just use a French press to keep down on draining my battery. And then the last thing in here is just the shelf above the kitchen where I keep all my oil and seasonings and anything that I might need to cook. It usually just ends up becoming a space where I throw everything. And the last thing is the command center of the bus. The driver's seat, I didn't change anything here, so it's just a driver's seat. So we're gonna finish this thing off in my favorite part of the entire camp setup, and that is this 10 by 20 custom awning that I built. When I put this on, I have an additional 200 square feet, which, as you can see, allows me to kind of compensate for gear sprawl. So normally, like any good camp, front corner ends up being just a throw wall. Right now, it's turkey season, so I've got turkey decoys, a blind, and then I've been using these gardening hooks just to kind of get some gear off the floor. And so I've got my bow, my clothing, my pack all hung up, and then we've got our wood tote, and then the wood stove, which generates a ton of heat and actually helps not only heat this, but it does help heat the bus. Back here, I usually try to cook breakfast outside, out here. So got a table with all the cooking utensils, cutting boards, pots, pans, that kind of stuff. Moving into the grill center. This table is just for general, I usually have like plates and all that kind of stuff on that one. Right now it's filled with a turkey fan because I did have a successful hunt a couple days ago. And then normally there's, 3 or 4 of us in here, so we're sitting on all sorts of stuff. But got it set up right now, so we've got a little coffee table and a couple chairs, and I'm assuming that when the rest of the crew shows up, it'll be full in here. Back to the bus. So that concludes your 400 square foot tour of the public lands bus. If you have any more questions, be sure to comment below. Also like, share, subscribe, all of those good things. We will see you back here on the bus next time. So I chose a bus over a camper or a van because the bus is going to gather as much attention as possible. It's basically my rolling billboard to get my message out.
And it's cooler.
And it's cooler than a camper.